68% of adults suffer from obesity or being overweight. Is bariatric surgery the answer? Let's talk about it. Welcome to My Healthy Mind. I'm Michael Hunter, and this is my co-host, Elizabeth Atkins.
Hello.
My Healthy Mind is a show where we're tackling taboo topics. Nothing is off limits. We're talking about everything. We talk about schizophrenia, bipolarism, substance abuse, any mental illness, any issue that is a barrier to someone's life. We have an expert witness come on and talk about it clinically, and we also have a guest come on and talk about it who has triumphed over the issue. We got a great show lined up today, Elizabeth.
We do. It's especially powerful because we're talking about obesity, and there is an obesity epidemic going on in America right now. So we have an expert who's on the front lines helping people lose weight. He's a bariatric surgeon here in Detroit, and he is head of the bariatric surgery program at Harper University Hospital at the DMC. And he is on a mission to put himself out of business.
And it's such a relevant topic because obesity is so prevalent in our society still,
Yes.
and it's putting people's lives at risk.
Yes, it's killing people because when people consume massive amounts of sugar, fat, and sodium in lots of calories, it's causing diabetes, hypertension, cancer, other illnesses, cutting people's lives short to the effect that this generation of children, according to the statistics, will not live as long as the prior generation. And that's the first time in American history that that's happening. That is wrong, and we have to do something about it.
And bariatric surgery is one of the ways that it's being addressed.
Yes, and we get to hear from one of Dr. Wood's patients about how he lost 160 pounds after bariatric surgery. We'll get to hear all that right after this break.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked my teacher.
I asked my dad.
You can do this.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7.
We are this close.
We're this close.
We are this close of wanting to making history.
This close to changing the world.
We are this close.
This close. This close to making sure no child suffers a crippling disease
Ever again.
This close. We are this close to ending polio.
Ending polio. All we need is you.
This close.
If we don't act now, we may lose this chance forever. Help Rotary make history at endpolionow.org.
It began with my big toe. That was my first amputation that I had.
Berger's disease, it's a vascular disease brought on by smoking.
My fingers started to go piece by piece.
First it was my left leg. After my left leg, it was my right leg. And so now I'm a double amputee, all from smoking.
My tip to everyone is, don't believe that this can't happen to you, because it can.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery. Team Mental Health Services prides itself on going the extra mile for its members.
And it was towards the 6th court date. I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. The obesity epidemic is killing men, women, and children by causing cancer, diabetes, and other health problems. And with us today, we have someone talking about solutions. We have a bariatric surgeon who's working on the front lines to help people triumph over obesity. I want to welcome Dr. Michael Wood. He's head of the bariatric surgery department at DMC Harper University Hospital in Detroit. Welcome, Dr. Wood.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Can you please define what is obesity, and secondly, tell us how bad is the problem?
Yes. Well, first of all, obesity is a crisis in America. It's definitely a crisis in America. We define obesity as being different segments, and there's what we call class 1, class 2, and class 3 obesity. We use a term called the BMI, or body mass index, and the body mass index of between 18 and 25 is normal. And so a BMI of 18 and 25 is normal. A body mass index between 25 and 30 is considered class 1 obesity, and then a BMI between 35 and 40 is class 2, and then above 40 is called class 3 obesity. Now, BMI relates to the number of pounds. So a BMI of 40 is about 100 pounds over your ideal body weight. And so we call that clinical severe obesity or morbid obesity. Then we have another category where the BMI is above 50, and we call that super morbid obesity. And so that's equivalent to a weight of about 200 pounds over your ideal body weight. So that's what we, and so the term bariatric surgery, that comes from the Greek term baros, which means heavy. And so we combine that with the treatment. So bariatric surgery is the treatment of people that are heavy.
And do you see it prevalent in any particular culture or another? Because I know in some cultures, being large and voluptuous, especially if it's a woman, is embraced.
Yes, well, that's very important in terms of the way we look at things. And there's certain things that we have in terms of culture. First of all, the whole problem of obesity is very severe. And for the first time, this just came out last week in the Journal of American Medical Association, where the obesity is greater than overweight. So the overweight category is a BMI between 25 and 30. So now obesity is superseding that overweight category. And if you look at segments of our population, particularly Afro-American population, the average is about 35% obesity. In the Afro-American women, it's 57%. 57%. If you look at morbid obesity in the Afro-American population in women, it's 17%. And for men, it's also very high as well. So that it is a problem that's a crisis in America, and it's getting worse.
But Dr. Wood, how is it getting worse when there's so much awareness and so many efforts on healthy lifestyles? Even Mrs. Obama is leading an effort on this. So how can it be getting worse?
Well, I think there are a lot of factors. One is that there's a lot of advertising and things that we tend to decrease the negativity in terms of things that are bad for us, and foods that are bad for us. And there's the health food industry. They're very prevalent. I mean, spend a lot of money in terms of advertising. They make things look good. There's a cultural belief that being overweight, as you mentioned, is good. So that whole, the prevalence of obesity is kind of triggered by those type of things. But the risk factors that go along with that, diabetes, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, high cholesterol, those are things that are impactful in terms of the whole situation with obesity. So it's not just being overweight, but it's having these risk factors that occur as a result of being overweight.
And are you finding that some people are resisting fixing it for themselves because it's a mental illness, perhaps, or no?
Well, I wouldn't consider it mental illness, but I would consider it being uninformed. There are some cultural things that we have to deal with. Matter of fact, patients that have to qualify for bariatric surgery have to go through a psychological evaluation so that we eliminate there. There's some conditions where people that actually have food addiction, or they have a term we call bulimia, and so we have to rule out those type of things because they really need mental health before having surgery because they won't be successful. So there is a mental health component, but doesn't restrict them. And I think the main, it's just my opinion, it has to do a lot with culture. And to give you an example of culture, when we look at, I have a patient recently that came in and she said, well, Dr. Wood, I don't want to be any smaller than a dress size 12. I said, well, where'd you come up with that? She said, well, I just want to look right. So that's a misperception in terms of being big is healthy, because it's not. If you look at the whole situation in terms of you mentioned killing people, and that's actually true, the mortality rate. And so you look at life expectancy. So if your body mass index is 40, your life expectancy is decreased by 6 years.
Oh my goodness.
If your BMI is 59, then it's decreased by approximately 13 and a half years.
So, Dr. Wood, what will it take to stop the obesity epidemic and really reverse it and get individuals to take action on a daily basis to lose weight and live healthier lifestyles?
I think we have to be more aggressive. I started writing a book, and so I was trying to address that in the book I was writing, and so there's some things that I were very kind of like very radical, but I found out that I had to kind of tone that down, so I decided to make the book a fiction book rather than just a nonfiction.
And we'll hear more about Dr. Wood and his work, and we're going to meet someone who has lost at least 160 pounds with bariatric surgery right after this.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked my teacher.
I asked my dad.
You can do this.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7.
We are this close.
We're this close.
We are this close. Of wanting to making history.
This close to changing the world.
We are this close.
This close. This close to making sure no child suffers a crippling disease
Ever again. This close.
We are this close to ending polio.
Ending polio. All we need is you.
This close.
If we don't act now, we may lose this chance forever. Help Rotary make history at endpolionow.org.
It began with my big toe. That was my first amputation that I had.
Berger's disease, it's a vascular disease brought on by smoking.
My fingers started to go piece by piece.
First it was my left leg. After my left leg, it was my right leg. And so now I'm a double amputee, all from smoking.
My tip to everyone is, don't believe that this can't happen to you, because it can.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery. Team Mental Health Services prides itself on going the extra mile for its members.
And it was towards the 6th court date. I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Welcome back. Today we've been talking about obesity and triumphing over it with Dr. Wood from DMC Hospitals, and we're joined now with Lou Willoughby, who has gone through the bariatric surgery and successfully. You look fantastic, by the way. Lou, why don't you tell us your story?
A few years back, I actually was walking through the mall and ran into somebody that had had it done, and she looked, great. I'm like, hey, what diet did you go on this time? Or, she says, no, actually I did bariatric surgery. And I, did a little bit of research, spoke with my mother who's in the field, and she recommended Dr. Woods. So I met with him. Went to one of his seminars, learned a lot about it, and decided that it was definitely for me. I just couldn't imagine how I could get down to where I needed to get to live a full life without something a little more drastic than a diet.
But you started off as an athlete, a football player in college,
Correct.
And then you became obese.
Yeah, when I went to college, I was a defensive lineman, and if you know anything about college, you need to be close to 300 pounds to be a defensive lineman in college. I walked in at 220, and my coach told me you had to be 40 pounds more next year if you want to play. And I said, okay. Wow. So I was eating peanut butter sandwiches, 2 of them before bed every night. You know, go through a jar of peanut butter a week. It was nuts. So they teach you how to put the weight, or they help you put the weight on. They don't help you take it off. So.
Oh my goodness. So you found yourself obese and you needed help.
Absolutely.
And then, Dr. Wood, how did you help? What kind of procedures do you do?
Well, there are a number of procedures we do. One type is called restrictive, where we're restricting how much you can eat at one time and how fast you can eat. There are 2 types. One is called the band, where we put a band around the top part of the stomach. So we reduce the stomach to the size of maybe an egg, and then we can tighten the band over time. The second type is the procedure that Mr. Willoughby had, which is called a sleeve gastrectomy. So we removed about 70% of his stomach. So we remove the part of the stomach that stretches, called the fundus, and that stretches because of what we call receptive relaxation. So the more food you put in your stomach, the easier it is to stretch. So it just gets larger. And so by removing that, we also, by removing that, you decrease how much you can eat at one time and how fast you can eat. And then there's a hormone that's produced in the stomach called ghrelin, and that's an appetite stimulus. And so we also decrease the amount of ghrelin that's produced by removing that part of the stomach. And then the third procedure that's a lot more popular, or at least popular, is a gastric bypass, and that's a procedure where it combines restriction as well as what we call malabsorption. That means you're not absorbing a certain amount of calories. And so you can't eat very much, you can't eat very fast. There's a malabsorption component, and then you can't take in refined sugar. And what I mean by refined sugar is sugar that you add to food.
And so you had the surgery. So how bad did it get? Because I'm sure you had to do diets and all of that kind of stuff. Elizabeth actually lost a lot of weight and wrote books about it. But I don't think you had the surgery, right?
Oh, no, all natural.
Yeah, so she did the exercise thing. I'm sure that people who probably do the surgery have gone through the exercise stuff. So how bad did it get for you before you said, hey, it's surgery time?
I mean, I tried pretty much everything, the Atkins, the South Beach, working out. When I was in college, you got to work out 3 times a day. That's how you kept the weight, solid rather than, fat. And then once you got out of college, it's just not possible to work out as much as you need to in order to keep that heavy of a mass in muscle, So I tried pretty much every diet, diet pills, tried all that. And, it's no joke after surgery. It's not like it's a piece of cake, like it is hard work. I mean, 2 years of working out every day. And when I say working out, I mean walking around the block, just getting a mile in, making sure you're eating right, even though you can eat normal things now. That's all a struggle that you still deal with. So it's not a magic thing. You have to bust your butt to really make it work, even outside of the surgery.
And does the surgery force you to eat super small portions?
Initially, yes.
Okay.
Yes. When you first get out, yeah, you definitely have smaller portions. I now eat pretty normal portions, but it's what I choose to put into my body. That's what's helping me continue to lose weight and keep the weight off.
And how much weight did you actually lose?
I lost 163 pounds at my absolute lowest at 189. My wife actually asked me to put a little bit of weight back on.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. That is so powerful. Congratulations.
And when you're trying to manage it day to day, do you still stay in touch with your doctor? Do you still do support groups? Like, what happens after the surgery?
Absolutely. There's a couple of things online that I use. Dr. Woods actually has a great support group that they follow up every, when you first out of surgery, every month, and then every couple months, and now it's every 6 months. I still go in every 6 months. They test my blood, make sure that, I'm still, doing well with my, cholesterol and my blood pressure and, all of that.
So Dr. Woods, what would you do if somebody began to relapse after having had the surgery?
Well, there's two important things. One is the follow-up. As Lewis mentioned, it's important that you follow on a regular basis. Number 2 is a commitment to lifestyle changes. We try to address that even before surgery. So people will have plateaus, and they will think they're not losing. Matter of fact, some people will think they're not doing well, and they're actually doing well, because you see it more on your clothes size change than you do on the scale. So we encourage them. Sometimes we have to identify things that they're doing that they think they're doing correctly, but they're actually not doing correctly. And that has to do with number of calories. And so there's 2 things about calories. One is the quantity and also the quality. And so we have to address both of those issues in terms of the quality. Things that spike sugar, for instance, what we call a glycemic index. And those are things that drive your insulin level up. If your insulin level is high, you can't burn fat as an energy source. So we have to address those type of things and go through my little checklist in terms of things, basically two things, sugar and starch. Starch turns to sugar and it spikes insulin. And when I mean starch, I'm talking about things like rice, pasta, noodles, spaghetti, cereal, bread, potato chips, pretzels, those type of things. And so that they cause you to gain weight because they spike insulin.
What's your advice to people who are thinking about getting bariatric surgery and might be afraid, or what's the first step they should take?
Well, they can go to our website. They can go to the dmc.org and look, and there's information. We call a program called Your New Self. And so they can get information about it. They can attend a free educational seminar so they can kind of see what the program is about, to find out if they're a candidate for bariatric surgery, and then go from there, and they'll see me if they decide in the office for a consultation, and they'll see the dietitian, they'll see our team.
And Lou, if you had one thing to say to anybody considering the surgery, what would you say?
I would say if you're considering it, you're probably already at that point where you're over 100 pounds overweight, and the chances of you losing that weight are 2%, right? So it can save your life.
Wow, powerful. Thank you, Lou Willoughby, and thank you, Dr. Michael Wood, for this phenomenal conversation about obesity. Hopefully you inspired some people to take action to change.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And coming up after the break, we will talk more about solutions to the obesity epidemic.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked my teacher.
I asked my dad.
You can do this.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7.
We are this close.
We're this close.
We are this close of wanting to making history.
This close to changing the world.
We are this close.
This close to making sure no child suffers a crippling disease.
Ever again. This close.
We are this close to ending polio.
Ending polio. All we need is you.
This close.
If we don't act now, we may lose this chance forever. Help Rotary make history at endpolionow.org.
It began with my big toe. That was my first amputation that I had.
Berger's disease, it's a vascular disease brought on by smoking.
My fingers started to go piece by piece.
First, it was my left leg. After my left leg, it was my right leg. And so now I'm a double amputee, all from smoking.
My tip to everyone is, don't believe that this can't happen to you, because it can.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Operación de corazón abierto para salvar mi vida. Tenía 33 años cuando me enteré que tenía una enfermedad del corazón. Y estaba bien sorprendida porque yo era una persona bien saludable. Lo primero que pensé eran de mis hijos, que yo no iba a estar aquí para mirarlos crecer. Oigan su propio cuerpo. Estoy participando en Go Red por tu corazón para informarle a todas las mujeres que tengan conciencia de su propio corazón.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery. Team Mental Health Services prides itself on going the extra mile for its members.
And it was towards the 6th court date. I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
We're down here at Eastern Market.
And today we'll be talking to people about the obesity epidemic in America.
Let's go see what folks have to say.
I think healthy eating, getting on the proper diet.
I mean, just the basic, incorporating little things into your diet, like just getting used to it over time, eating more fruits. And
I think that there are a lot of illnesses that come about just because we're not living healthy lifestyles where food is concerned.
Unfortunately, all of the polysaturates and all of the hidden fats that are in the fast foods, people are not interested in finding out about it all, obviously.
As an educator, one population of people that I would love to see us target more are our children. A lot of them are growing up in homes where they lack an understanding of what to eat and how to eat, even simple exercise approaches.
The way that we advertise food and it appeals to children, I think we need to get more into the school system.
And you have to start when you're young. You have to introduce your kids to fresh fruit and vegetables and different things. If you start them out eating candy and and all these sugary stuff, then they're going to grow up eating the same thing as they get older.
There's a lot of information, awareness on substance drug abuse, but we're not giving too much attention to healthy eating.
Michael, that was so informative. What was your favorite takeaway?
I think the most interesting thing for me was that Lou Willoughby said that he was a college athlete who was programmed to bulk up and eat more and eat more. And then when his college athletic career was over, there was no aftercare. There was no one to teach him how to undo all of the caloric intake that he had conditioned himself to doing without the physical exercise, so to burn it all off. And so he was stuck just growing and growing and growing to the point where he needed bariatric surgery.
Right, and I love that he exemplifies someone who doesn't fit a stereotype of being obese. Who thinks of a college athlete as a football player as being obese? So it's so powerful that he's willing to share his story to inspire others to take action, dramatic action. 160 pounds as a person.
Absolutely, that was a lot of weight. It was amazing. And I like the fact that the Dr. Woods said that, hey, you got to also be ready mentally to do this because it's a life-changing experience, not just a quick fix surgery. It really is something you got to be conscientious of. And some people, if they don't pay attention after the surgery, they could still hurt themselves, like with the eating the sugar, that kind of thing.
Yes, and I love that he addresses the psychological component of obesity and eating because food can be used as a substance that's abused just like people use alcohol and drugs. And so for him to address the importance of resolving that along with the surgery so that those bad habits don't resume and the weight comes back on.
Absolutely. And we made sure that we gave good information. People, if you're struggling, reach out, look at our website, myhealthymind.com. There's information on there. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, and pay attention to what's coming next. We got some great topics ahead. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Make sure you tune in next time to My Healthy Mind.